Slavery. A person who is the legal property of another and is forced to obey them. A prominent and central tool in early North America, especially in the South. With its economy focused on large agricultural products, you would need a large team to collect the crop, and, at the time, slavery was a good tool. A one-time payment for a lifetime of work. However, as technological advances were made, slavery became a less and less sensible strategy. Moreover, there was also a major moral disagreement over whether slavery should be allowed at all. This wasn't the only cause for the Civil War, though. The direct cause for the Civil War was secession. The cause for secession was fear. Fear is the path to the dark side. Batman. Fear that their way of life was in danger. Slavery in the South during the war was undoubtedly hectic. While some slaves were sent off to replace their masters or sons, some of them weren't. Some did because they thought that their own, or sons' lives shouldn't be at risk for their war. Some didn't for the fact that they believed that lesser creatures couldn't fight a man's war, or because they were better off on the work field rather than on the battlefield. Slaves that were to stay, some were as stressed as the wives, and some, or the cruel masters, were relieved, able to work on their own. Abraham Lincoln, now in charge of the United States, has a dilemma on his hands. He won, but many slave states seceded from the U.S. to form the Confederate States of America, in fear that slavery would be abolished, despite Lincoln not intending to. How was he to gain back the seceded states? First, Lincoln did not recognize the ceded states as their own country, but as rebellious states. At the beginning of the war, the fighting was mostly to preserve the Union until the Emancipation Proclamation. The Emancipation Proclamation was a tactic President Lincoln used to abolish slavery in rebellious states on January 1st, 1863. However, loyal states that were still slave states would still have slavery. Slaves that escaped to the Union or were liberated would be safe from their masters. The proclamation also allowed blacks to join the Union Army of their own free will. Some controversy was to be had over the decision, but were quickly abolished. See what I did there? After the 54th Massachusetts Regiment on July 16, 1863, over the fact that they did not quit no matter what despite losing everyone to the Battle of Wagner. The war had gone on too long, and the president, with the Emancipation Proclamation, upset many, many people, because Lincoln believed that putting the elections on hold would show weakness to the rebels. Midterms and presidential elections were held. Republicans lost the midterms, and it looks like it for the presidency. The Northern Democrats thought the war had changed for the worse, saying that the war was to only preserve the Union. The radical Republicans thought that reintegration was too lenient, and the integration was going too slow. But he swung around and gained the votes when General William Tecumseh Sherman captured Atlanta in early September. The war may have gone on longer for a few months, but it was a Union abolitionist victory. So, to recap, slaves during the Civil War was either still in full swing or they were on the front lines. And because Lincoln won the second election, the war was continued and slavery was set up to be no more. Thank you for visiting me in my void. Have a good day.